The first contact, the Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Made up of 12 ancient species, they believed themselves the peak of civilization. The Draxi were master engineers. The Valari controlled vast trade networks. The Kornak served as warriors and peacekeepers. Each species had their role, their place in the cosmic order. Then humanity arrived. Captain Mark Stone stood on the bridge of the Earth ship Defiance, watching the massive space station grow larger on his screens. First contact protocols demanded. He approached the council station unarmed, but something felt wrong. His crew of 200 humans had traveled 40 light-years to make peaceful contact with galactic civilization. The station was beautiful but cold. Crystalline towers stretched for miles, connected by bridges that seemed to defy physics. Ships from dozens of species docked at various ports, but none looked familiar to human eyes. "Captain, we're being scanned," reported Lieutenant Tom Nash from his station. "Multiple energy signatures, they're thorough." Stone nodded. "Let them look. We have nothing to hide." But the aliens did. As the Defiance docked, Council forces surrounded it. Ambassador Krell of the Draxi stepped forward, his forearms moving in what humans would later learn was contempt. "So," Krell's translator made his voice sound mechanical, "the galaxy has produced another young species. How disappointing." The first meeting was a disaster. The Council viewed humans as primitives. They laughed at Earth's technology, mocked human culture, and dismissed their offers of trade and friendship. When Stone mentioned humanity's population of 12 billion, the laughter stopped. 12 billion? Krell's eyes widened. On one world? "Yes," Stone replied proudly. "Earth supports us all." What the humans didn't know was that most Council species numbered in the millions across multiple worlds. 12 billion beings from one planet terrified them. The Council had rules about population control, about resource management, about the proper way to exist in the galaxy. Humans broke every rule simply by existing. The meeting ended with humanity being declared a galactic threat. The Council demanded that Earth reduce its population to acceptable levels. 2 million maximum. They gave humanity 1 year to comply or face corrective action. Stone returned to Earth with news that shattered human illusions about joining a peaceful galactic community. The world's leaders were outraged. Protests filled every major city. How dare aliens tell humanity how to live? But some understood the threat. General Lisa Webb began mobilizing Earth's military forces. Dr. Alan Price started working on new weapons technology. President Davis addressed the world, his words broadcast to every human on Earth and in the colonies. "They want us to choose who lives and who dies," Davis said, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was saying. "They want us to murder our own children, our parents, our friends. They call it population control. We call it genocide." The year passed quickly. Humanity refused to comply with the Council's demands. They couldn't. Even if they wanted to, how could any government choose which people deserved to live? Instead, they prepared for war. When the Council fleet arrived at Earth, they expected to find a broken species ready to submit. Instead, they found humanity united for the first time in its history. Every nation had contributed to the defense fleet. Every human settlement in the solar system was ready to fight. Admiral Rex Cole commanded the human fleet from the Bridge of the Vengeance. 3,000 ships of various sizes surrounded Earth, from massive carriers to small fighters. It wasn't much compared to the Council's 10,000 vessels, but it was everything humanity had. "This is your final warning," came the transmission from the Council flagship. "Submit to population reduction or be destroyed." Cole's response was simple: "Come and try." The battle began at the edge of the solar system. Human ships fought with a desperation the Council had never seen before. They weren't fighting for territory or resources or honor. They were fighting for the right to exist. The first day went badly for humanity. Council weapons were more advanced, their shields stronger, their tactics refined by centuries of warfare. Human ships died by the hundreds, but humans adapted. They learned. They improvised. By the second day, they were using council tactics against them. By the third day, they were creating new tactics the council had never seen. The war that the council expected to last hours stretched into weeks. More council fleets arrived, but humanity held. They fought in the asteroid belt, around Jupiter's moons, in the shadow of Mars, and slowly, the galaxy began to pay attention to the small blue world that refused to die. The fire spreads 3 months into what the council called the human problem. Everything changed. What began as a simple extermination had become a nightmare that spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Commander Jake Miller crouched in the ruins of Europa Station, his rifle trained on the corridor ahead. His squad of 12 Marines had been holding this position for 6 hours, waiting for the next wave of council forces. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running low on ammunition. They were also winning. "Movement on level 7, whispered Sergeant Amy Foster. "Looks like a full Kornak assault team." Miller smiled grimly. The Kornak were the Council's best warriors, bred for combat across multiple worlds. They stood 8 feet tall, had natural armor plating, and possessed strength that could crush steel. 3 months ago, a single Kornak could take on 10 human soldiers and win. Now it took 20 Kornak to match 1 human squad. "Remember what we learned about Kornak weak points," Miller said quietly. "Their neck joints, behind the knee plates, and the sensor clusters on their heads. Fast and dirty people. Make every shot count." The attack came with typical Kornak brutality, a wall of armored flesh charging through smoke and chaos. But the humans were ready. They had learned to fight like cornered animals, using every advantage their smaller size and quicker minds could provide. The battle lasted 8 minutes. When the smoke cleared, 12 dead Kornak lay in the corridor. The humans had suffered no casualties. This scene was repeating itself across the galaxy. The Council's initial confidence had turned to concern, then to fear, and finally, to desperate panic. Humanity wasn't just surviving, they were spreading. On the bridge of the Council flagship Divine Order, Supreme Commander Thane studied tactical displays that showed a galaxy slowly turning red. Each red dot represented a human presence, and there were thousands of them now. "How is this possible?" Thane demanded of his staff. "We destroyed their homeworld's defenses. We control all major shipping routes. How are they everywhere?" Intelligence Officer Vale approached nervously. "Sir, we believe they're using our own supply ships. Humans have been stowing away on Council vessels, establishing hidden bases on uninhabited worlds, and—" Vale hesitated. "And what?" Thane's voice carried the authority of 10,000 years of galactic dominance. "And they're recruiting other species, sir. The Frex rebellion in the Outer Rim, the Tolek uprising near the galactic core. Intelligence suggests human advisors are involved. This was humanity's greatest weapon. Not their ships or guns or tactical genius, but their ability to inspire. For 10,000 years, the Council had ruled through fear and strict hierarchy. Younger species were kept in line, told their place, and expected to be grateful for the privilege of serving. Then humans arrived and asked a simple question. Why? On the mining world of Kepler 442b, a young Frex named Doc watched in amazement as human Sergeant Rick Barnes showed his people how to modify mining equipment into weapons. "You see," Barnes explained in broken Frex, "your bosses tell you this. Machine only digs rock. But really, machine is just tool. You decide what tool does." The Frex had been mining this world for 3 centuries, sending rare metals to the Council core worlds while living in poverty themselves. They had never questioned this arrangement, because questioning the Council was unthinkable. Until the humans came. "But Council will punish us," Doc said fearfully. "They have big ships, strong weapons." Barnes grinned. "Yeah, they got big ships. We seen 'em. But big ships gotta land sometime. And when they do..." He patted the modified mining laser. "We show them what happens when you mess with free people." The rebellion on Kepler 442b lasted 6 days. When it was over, the Frex controlled their own world for the first time in centuries. More importantly, they had learned something that changed everything. The Council could be defeated. Word spread. On 1,000 worlds across the galaxy, Oppressed species looked up at the stars and began to hope. The humans had shown them that the Council wasn't invincible, that resistance was possible, that freedom could be won. Back at Earth, President Davis received reports of uprisings across the galaxy. His advisors were amazed. "Mr. President," said General Webb, "we're seeing rebellions in sectors we've never even heard of. Species we've never contacted are rising up against Council rule." Davis nodded grimly. "Freedom is contagious, General. We didn't start this war to rule the galaxy. We started it to survive. But sometimes survival means changing everything." He looked out at the stars where human ships continued their desperate fight against impossible odds. "God help us all," he whispered. "I don't think anyone knows how this ends." The point of no return. The war had been raging for 2 years when the Council made their fatal mistake. In their desperation to end the human contagion, they crossed a line that even their own forces couldn't accept. Captain Sarah Davis stood in the ruins of New Geneva Colony, her hazmat suit's radiation detector clicking constantly. Around her, the remains of 50,000 human civilians lay scattered across what had been a thriving agricultural world. Men, women, children, all dead from Council nerve gas that had been banned even by their own laws for 3,000 years. "Jesus Christ," whispered her second-in-command, Lieutenant Park. "They killed everyone, even the kids." Davis knelt beside a small playground where the bodies of children lay frozen in their final moments. They had been playing when the gas fell from orbit. Some still clutched toys. "Get me a comm channel to Admiral Cole," Davis said quietly. "Full encryption." The transmission reached Earth 6 hours later. Admiral Cole stood in the war room beneath Geneva, surrounded by holographic displays showing the galaxy-wide conflict. When Davis's report finished, the room fell silent. 50,000 civilians, Cole said finally, including 8,000 children under the age of 10. General Webb's face was stone. "It's not the first time, Rex. Intelligence reports similar attacks on 12 other human colonies. The Council isn't just fighting our military anymore. They're trying to exterminate us completely." President Davis entered the room, his face aged beyond his years by 2 years of constant war. "What's our status?" "Bad and getting worse," Cole replied honestly. "We're fighting on 400 fronts across the galaxy. Our recruitment from allied species has tripled, but so has Council resistance. They're getting desperate, and desperate enemies do desperate things. Like gassing civilian colonies," Davis said bitterly. "Sir," Webb interrupted, "there's something else. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive fleet movements in the galactic core. It looks like the Council is preparing something big." On the screen, tactical displays showed the movement of over 100,000 Council ships, the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Their destination was clear: Earth. They're going to try to end it, Cole realized. One massive strike to cut off the head of the rebellion. Davis stared at the display. Earth's defenses had grown stronger over 2 years of war, but against 100,000 ships it would be a slaughter. "How long?" he asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4 if we're lucky," Webb replied. In the Council chambers on their ancient homeworld, Supreme Commander Thane addressed the assembled representatives of 12 species. The grand hall that had once symbolized galactic unity now reeked of fear and desperation. "The human plague must be stopped," Thane declared. "For 2 years we have watched as they poison the galaxy with their ideas of rebellion and chaos. No, more." Elder Vex of the Draxi raised a trembling appendage. "Supreme Commander, the weapons you propose, they violate every treaty we have signed. The Galactic Accords specifically forbid. The Accords were written for civilized warfare between civilized species." Thane's voice echoed through the chamber. "Humans are not civilized. They are a cancer that spreads wherever they go. Look at what they have done. A galaxy that knew peace for 10,000 years now burns with rebellion." Representative Cole of the Valari stood slowly. "Commander, with respect, perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have repeatedly offered negotiation." Thane laughed bitterly. With beings who reproduce like insects and spread chaos wherever they go, there can be no negotiation with a disease. There can only be cure. The vote was close. 7 species in favor, 5 opposed. It was enough. The Council authorized the use of planet-killer weapons against Earth and all human colonies. They would use technology that could crack worlds, burn atmospheres, and sterilize entire solar systems. The human threat would be ended once and for all. But 3 of the species that voted against the resolution did something unprecedented in Council history. They warned the humans. On Earth, President Davis received the coded transmission from a Valari merchant named Tor. "Your world has 4 weeks," the message said. "They come with world killers. You cannot fight such weapons. You must run." Davis shared the message with his cabinet. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We could evacuate," suggested Secretary of State Johnson. "The colony ships could carry millions to safe systems. And leave billions to die?" Davis shook his head. "No. If we run now, we'll be running forever. The Council will hunt down every human in the galaxy." Admiral Cole leaned forward. "Then what do you suggest, Mr. President?" Davis looked out the window at the city below, where 12 billion humans went about their lives, unaware that their entire species faced extinction in 4 weeks. "We make them regret ever hearing the name human," he said quietly. "If they want to end this with planet killers, then we show them what humans do when they have nothing left to lose." Part 4. The Last Gambit, 7 or 70 words, 3 weeks remained. Before the Council's final assault, when humanity played its last desperate card. In a hidden asteroid base beyond Pluto, Dr. Alan Price made a discovery that would change the nature of warfare forever. "It works," Price announced to the assembled military leaders, his voice barely containing his excitement and horror. "The quantum resonance field actually works." Admiral Cole studied the data on his tablet, trying to understand the implications. "Explain it in simple terms, Doctor." "Every sentient being in the galaxy has a unique quantum signature," Price began, his hands shaking slightly. "Think of it like a fingerprint, but at the subatomic level. This device can target those signatures across vast distances and," he paused, "and disrupt them permanently." General Webb leaned forward. "You're talking about a weapon that can kill specific species from light years away?" "Not just kill," Price corrected grimly. "Erase. The quantum disruption doesn't just stop biological functions, it unravels the target at the molecular level. Complete extinction in seconds." The room fell silent. President Davis, attending via secure hologram from Earth, spoke first. "How many, sir?" Price didn't understand. How many could it target? 1 person? 1,000? 1,000,000? Price swallowed hard. "All of them, Mr. President. Every member of a target species, anywhere in the galaxy, simultaneously." The implications hung in the air like a death sentence. Humanity had created the ultimate genocide weapon, a device that could wipe out entire species with the push of a button. "Jesus," whispered Admiral Cole. "We could end the war tomorrow, target the Council leadership species and become everything they said we were." Davis interrupted. "Monsters who solve problems by committing genocide." Meanwhile, the Council fleet continued its advance toward Earth. 100,000 ships carrying enough firepower to crack planets and boil oceans. Supreme Commander Thane stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 2 weeks to target," reported his aide. "All planet-killer weapons are armed and ready." "Good," Thane replied. "When we finish with Earth, we move to the colonies. Every human world will burn until not one of them remains." But Thane didn't know about the quantum weapon. He didn't know that in a hidden base, humanity held the power to erase his entire species from existence. The debate raged for days in secret bunkers across Earth. Military leaders argued for using the weapon immediately. Religious leaders called it an abomination. Scientists were split between those who saw it as humanity's salvation and those who feared what it might mean for the future. "We fire this thing, and we're no better than them," argued General Martinez during one heated session. We become the genocidal monsters they claimed we were. And if we don't fire it, we all die anyway, countered Admiral Stone. At least this way our species survives. President Davis listened to the arguments, but his mind was already made up. That evening, he addressed the leaders of the human resistance in a secure transmission that reached every hidden base and rebel cell across the galaxy. My fellow humans, he began, in 2 weeks, the Council will arrive at Earth with enough firepower to destroy our world completely. They come not for conquest, but for extermination. They want to erase us from the galaxy because we dared to ask why they should rule us. He paused, looking directly into the camera. We have in our possession a weapon that could end this war, immediately. We could destroy every Council species and claim the galaxy for humanity alone. Our scientists tell me it would work. Our military leaders tell me it would save us. Another pause. I'm ordering the weapon destroyed. The transmission continued over protests and arguments from across the galaxy. We didn't fight this war to become conquerors. We fought it to survive as free beings. If we use this weapon, we become everything they said we were, a plague upon the galaxy. Instead, we do what humans have always done when faced with impossible odds. We adapt, we improvise, we find another way. Davis's next words would echo through galactic history. In 2 weeks, the Council arrives to destroy Earth. Let them come. They'll find that killing humanity isn't as easy as they think, and if they do manage to destroy our world, they'll learn that you can't kill an idea with planet killers.